So you guys are pros at this.
Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, and together with my co-host, Mark Gornich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechphilly.com, and now columnist for the Jewish Press.
Right, I'm having a lot of fun doing all of that, and my column in the Jewish Press talks about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. And someone who's a friend of the Jewish community who's with us today is a leader in government, the mayor of Troy, Patrick Madden. So welcome to the Jewish View.
Well, thank you. Thank you both for having me. This is exciting.
It's great to have you here, and I know you have your plate full. So
I do.
Thank you for taking the time to come over and,
Sure.
and spend some time.
On the other hand, Troy is really a growing. I mean, you make playful like you have troubles, but on the other hand, Troy is really on an upswing, isn't it?
Well,
Seems to me.
it really is, and some people say Troy is the new Brooklyn. We like to think of Brooklyn as the new Troy. We've got a lot of growth going on within the younger population, the creative class. We're generating a lot more residential units in the downtown area, which supports merchants. It supports some unique shops and restaurants and bars. So there's quite a buzz about Troy.
Yeah, I
right
just
now.
even read that the new hotels are coming up in
Yes,
Troy.
yep.
Something else that, just, it's probably, obviously the business people just don't hodgepodge and put anything where they want. Obviously they see, a place where there's growth and where people are going to come to.
I think that's true. I think that the investment community realizes there's a return to be made in Troy. So they're investing in Troy.
I mean,
And
just like you, that's really a nationwide phenomenon. I mean, I always say I'm 29 years old, but maybe my that goes that way. But in any case, I mean, I remember taking people to Brooklyn, like you were saying, for 30, 40 years ago. Rabbi, you trying to kill me over here? You're taking down to New York City,
Crown
and now
Heights,
it's the place to be. I mean, it's
Right.
the whiteout market. So again, Troy is really Troy. And now it's getting to be, again, also, like you say, like Brooklyn, the place to be. So the young crowd, the millennials really want to go into the big city. There's more to be had in the big city.
well, there is, and I think we're in that swing of the cycle where urban living environments are exciting again. So people are coming back in from the suburbs. And what positions Troy well is we have a lot of our intact old architecture. We have a very walkable scale, and we have the riverfront. We have Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and Russell Sage College, so there's a lot of energy that generates around those educational institutions, and people are tapping into all of that. And
So,
Troy-
I mean, there's a lot of positives, but there's also, and I don't want to discount the positives with Troy, because I do enjoy coming to Troy and visiting, and I took a test and that they had, are you a Troy
Maven.
Maven or whatever, And
I missed that, yeah.
Yeah, and I got a little sticker that said,
All right.
because I got like 9 out of 10 questions right about Troy, so, I do enjoy going there. But, 4th Street, I think, is something that needs to be built up more.
So 4th Street in the downtown area is sort of the outer edge right now of the investment, but we have some exciting projects developing on 4th Street and 5th and 6th now. So we're expanding that hub where a lot of that investment has occurred over the past 4 or 5 years.
Now, we should tell our viewers that you just started in January of 2016.
I did.
So I didn't want people to think that what we're talking about is any reflection about you, because
No.
you're only there a
Yep.
few scant months.
Yeah, so all of the good things that are happening are really,
Well, you
I'm
take
standing.
credit for the good
I-
things,
no, I
and
get- I'm
the
standing
bad
on the
things are
shoulders.
some other
Yeah,
administration,
That's
right?
right. Yeah. No, everything. I recognize the hard work that people put in before I came, and I hope to build on that.
Now, you had a full head of hair before you started.
Yes, I did. Absolutely did. And it was, it was blonde and. It was,
And then the pipes started bursting, and
Mm-hmm.
water started flowing in the streets, and the streets started caving in the first
Yes.
few weeks of your term.
Yes.
Welcome to Troy. Welcome
Right,
to the
I was
mayor's office.
Put to the test early.
So what about that infrastructure? I mean, obviously it's a problem. It's a problem for probably a lot of cities.
Well,
Well,
it is for Albany,
sure,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yep.
saying, it's not unique.
No, it's not unique. I think all of the northeastern cities are roughly around the same age, and our infrastructure is roughly around the same age, and it's aging and breaking everywhere. Unfortunately, you can't see a pipe that's going. You know, you can't look at it and evaluate it and say, should I replace that or not, without digging it up. And you don't want to disturb the surface for fear that you will disturb the pipe. So you don't know what you need to replace until you see water coming out of the
You
ground.
learned a lot in 6 months, haven't you?
I did,
about
I
this?
did.
You
I
didn't
learn a
know-
lot every day.
No, but you hadn't known about all the intricacies about what's
Correct.
underground until you
Right.
came into office and
Yeah.
all this stuff started happening and you were like, ah!
Baptism by fire.
And you had the water to put out the fire, so that's
Yep.
good. So are things settling down? I mean, are you more looking forward in terms of paving roads as opposed to patching them up? I mean, are you
Well,
doing
you
more
know,
with, I mean, because these pipes, first of all, people should know, these pipes you could actually walk through. These are not small pipes like going to
no,
your
we have
house.
our largest main is 60 inches.
Right,
So you could walk through that
Right.
pipe. And they vary in age. Some of them go back to probably the 1870s,
right.
right up to present. And it's not always the oldest ones that break. It's a pipe could be laid too close to a big rock underground, and you get a frost heave, and the rock keeps hitting the pipe every winter for 30 winters, and eventually
That's right.
it fractures. So it's not always the oldest ones that go, and it's very hard to predict where pipes are going to go. But what we've done is we've taken a look at, we have a very good map of the underground piping system. We understand where the valves are, we understand obviously where the pipes are and their relative age. And we're starting to look at, okay, what are the areas that are most likely to go? So the big gusher that we had in January was a 33-inch main. That was 100 years old. We're working now to replace that length of pipe. I've forgotten the exact length of it. It might be about 1,500 to 2,000 feet.
It's like
you
half a
didn't
mile,
replace-
almost like half a mile.
Yeah, yep. So we'll be replacing that later this year.
Oh, you didn't replace it? What'd you patch it?
We patched it, and it was quite a job to patch it.
Yeah, because sometimes it costs more to patch than to replace.
Well, we have quite a length of it to replace, and we weren't replacing a pipe of that magnitude.
Yeah.
Requires a lot of planning
Planning,
and
yeah.
a lot of engineering and a lot of money. So we needed to put those things in place first.
Now, I saw you at the Conference of Mayors
Mm-hmm.
convention, and obviously there are a lot of vendors at those conferences. And
Yes.
they all want to sell you something.
Yep.
And they want to tell you about the latest and greatest in pipes. So did you learn anything in terms of new technology that you could use to replace the pipes that would last another 150 years?
Sure, I not so much at the conference, but working with the engineers we work with and our water department superintendent, who's terrific. There are a variety of new technologies that allow you to line pipes. Not all of them are practical for every pipe.
Mhm.
So some of them are good for sewer lines where you don't have laterals coming in and out. Others are good for water lines where there's a modest amount of pressure. Unfortunately, the January pipe was a 33-inch main, and it had a good deal of pressure behind it. None of the liners would work in that situation.
Uh-huh.
Plus, we have laterals coming off of the
Right.
pipe, so not only do you line the pipe, but then you'd have to go in and cut out holes
But what
for...
about a different material other than the steel?
Steel isn't used anymore. We use ductile iron.
Who?
Ductile iron.
Iron.
And
Okay.
that has a much longer lifespan. I don't know that anybody is using plastic yet. They might line pipes with plastic,
Okay.
but I don't think plastic is, I'm not an engineer, but I don't think plastic is capable of
But you
holding
play one
those
on
pressures.
TV.
I do, yeah. Yep.
But that's the, okay, so,
So we do, you know,
Yeah.
we have our share of pipes that break. We had 2 break yesterday, and it's not in the middle of winter, the
Right.
ground isn't moving, they just finally gave out. And they were replaced, they were repaired within about 12 hours. We're quite good at repairing pipes. But honestly, in this year, and I'm certainly not taking any credit for it, but in this year, we've had fewer breaks to date than we did in the last several years,
Really?
year to date. So,
They just,
it's just
it was just
happenstance.
a picture that the media could show.
Well, it was the big one. You know,
Yeah.
it was when I got there, the water was coming out at an astronomical pace.
Yeah.
You talk about water, though. I have a friend in Troy, and he showed me around, and the reservoir there is huge, which is even more huge, more water that even that Troy really needs. And he told me that at the turn of the century, I mean, the last one over 100 years ago, you know, Troy was one of the biggest communities. They had a Major League Baseball team. And,
did.
you know,
Yeah.
so they kind of figured, hey, we're going to be it. You know, we're going to be a major metropolis city. And in the end, we know for the last 100 years, they either leveled off or went, I don't know, the population, but surely didn't boom like these major cities. But there's an incredible water source there that people plan for.
Sure, we have a remarkable water resource. The Tom Hannock Reservoir probably produces twice what we would use in the city of Troy, maybe even more.
In a year.
On any given day.
On any given day.
Yeah, it has a capacity to service at least twice what we're doing now. So we've been able to sell that to contiguous communities. So we sell to Waterford and Half Moon and North Greenbush, some to Brunswick, Manans. You know, we generate, I think, more revenue from those outside our borders selling water to them than we do in generating water fees internally.
Oh, really?
Yes,
So,
yep. And there's still more capacity yet.
so
it's
folks, is Hoosick Falls and Petersburg too far for them to take advantage of your clean water?
Well, it's
'Cause
not
they
that
have
it's
PFOA problem.
right, and we've been in some very preliminary discussions about providing finished water to them. The challenge is we have the Grafton Mountain Range in between us, so it's going to take a lot of work to not only pipe the water over the mountain, pump it over the mountain, but also get the pipe in the ground. I don't know if you've ever been in Grafton, but there's mosely rock. There's
Right.
not a whole lot of
Well, there's
topsoil.
a Jewish
so-
camp in Grafton also.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, at the
Sedeka.
JCC.
Oh,
camp.
Sedeka, sure,
Sedeka,
on
yes.
Martin Dunham Reservoir Road.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
So they,
So it's
we-
a nice resource he has.
so you
on
wouldn't
that.
you run it along the road? I mean, underneath?
It could be run along Route 2. We
Yeah.
do have before the Tom Hannock, we used to draw our water from various sources, and one of the sources was Grafton and Martin Dunham Reservoir. So we have a pipe that goes partway out there already.
Okay.
And we have rights of way. And obviously, the state has rights of way all along Route 22. I think the issue is it cost effective to run piping out there for, I don't know, pick a number, maybe 3,000 households?
I know, but you know, that's what the cable companies say also, when they want, or electric companies would say, you know, should we be running our lines out to those rural areas? It's not a matter of cost effective, it's a matter of people's health.
Sure,
well-being.
but I'm thinking the state is looking at where's our most cost-effective solution. If they can, we're happy to do it. We'd love to do it. We have the ability to do it in terms of volume of water available. The state needs to step in and say, is this something we would invest in for Petersburg and Hoosick Falls?
Well,
I hope they do.
I don't think it's a question that the state should pony up the bucks and go in, because they could bond it very easily. And it's not like they're shelling out the money, the cash.
Right.
You know, so, you know, it's just ridiculous, penny wise and pound foolish to,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, if this was in a neighborhood in Brooklyn or in a more populated area, you know, or an area that was known to the governor or to the environmental conservation community, like maybe the Adirondacks or whatever, boom, you know, it would have been taken care of. But, you know, Hoosick Falls, Petersburg, I'm sure, you know, it's a Republican, it's all politics. I mean, I'm convinced it's all about politics, because if you look at it, when something like this happens in the Democrat community, it gets done a lot faster than it happens in a Republican community. That's just my
Well, I
impression.
hope it gets done, because
It
we
just-
have great
I know,
water,
I'm
and
not
I'd love to
asking-
share
it's-
it.
These are words not coming
Sure.
out of your mouth, I'm
Yep.
just saying it.
Yeah.
And just, and, you know, so, Let me ask you, what was your State of the City address like? I mean, were you nervous? Were you like?
Oh, of course,
you know,
sure.
this
I was in,
like, I never
I was in
thought-
office all 5 weeks and
Yeah.
had dealt with a
Well,
major water
yeah.
main break, and but it's and it'll get easier with each one. I'm not a terribly polished public speaker, so I had some anxiety going into it, but. I'm the kind of person who needs to mull something over for a while before the thoughts gel well, and so I mulled that over for quite a while before it got written, and it really came together right up until maybe 10 minutes before I delivered it.
So it wasn't something that you wrote personally?
Oh,
or-
it was,
It
yes,
was?
yes. Yep.
Oh, it wasn't your staff that came up with the verbiage and then you just edited it? Or?
I have staff who came up with some of it, and then I'm particular about
You
my
are.
writing,
I see.
and it's probably something I have to get over.
No, because Mario Cuomo, when he was governor, he was very particular, and people would slave for weeks and possibly months to write a proper speech for him with his intonation and the way he would
Yes.
speak and his cadence and all that.
Yep.
And then he would just throw it away and he would just improvise. And
Yeah,
just,
I loved his speaking. I thought he
did.
was great.
Yeah,
Yep.
he was, so you got to emulate that. too.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What were you doing before the mayor? What prompted you to be
What prompted him?
to
This
be
is-
a mayor?
How
You know-
much time we have?
This was never on my 5-year plan. I never thought that I would run for office. Immediately prior to running for office, I ran a nonprofit in Troy called TRIP, Troy Rehabilitation and Improvement Program. And I spent 30 years there. And we worked in the low-income neighborhoods, developing communities. So we would rehab buildings, provide affordable housing, either home ownership opportunities or rental opportunities. We would work with the residents in the neighborhood to help create the civic infrastructure that makes these neighborhoods that have seen such disinvestment over the years come back to life. You know, help them create the institutions that make their neighborhood, a community of choice, somewhere where they choose to be. So we'd be working with other nonprofits, the Boys and Girls Club, the community gardens, the Little Leagues, whoever wanted to work in those neighborhoods with us. So I loved doing that. I really enjoyed doing it. And like I say, I had been there 30 years. It was still exciting. It was still challenging. And I went home at night feeling like I had accomplished something positive. When Mayor Rose Amelia, a year and a half ago, decided not to run again, in a moment of weakness, I entertained the thought that maybe I had something to offer the city. And I made the mistake of mentioning that to a few people. And, you know, it slowly started snowballing, and it made a lot of sense. I've been in the communities for neighborhoods for 30 years. I've worked in the most challenging communities in terms of disinvestment and crime and challenges. I love challenges. I've always liked trying to fix things. And it seemed like a natural fit. I had been I'd been a registered voter, but unaffiliated with either party my entire life.
You were blank.
I was a blank, and I did that intentionally because I needed to work with both parties as a
Right.
director of TRIP
And we
over the
should
years.
mention that your sister is the Republican, the county executive,
Correct.
Kathy Jimino.
Yep.
And she's Republican.
Correct.
I just want to make that clear.
Right. So our family has both parties
Okay.
covered. Yep.
So why did you choose Democrat with D as opposed to an R when you could have just as, I mean, Republicans get elected in Troy. I mean, you got the city council, who were Republican controlled, and seemed to be a Republican year.
Yep.
I mean, why didn't you challenge Jim Gordon, I think, was running for mayor?
Jim Gordon ran on
Yeah.
the Republican line and a
But-
couple other lines as
So
well.
why didn't you want to challenge him as opposed to primary
I- you
Rodney
know,
Wiltshire?
I think my values are more progressive and more in line with the Democratic Party.
Yeah, but at that level, the D and the R really don't mean
Right.
that much different. You know, they're not that much different. So why would you choose a D over an R?
Well, again, I think
it's a
overall,
point to us.
the values, my values are a little bit more progressive than I would say the Republican side. Also, there's an enrollment advantage in Troy for the Democratic line. And many of my supporters were from the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I just think it's important maybe that once I'm thinking about, your bio, just, the city from inside out, from maybe from down and up, and so you're a people's person. I mean, I
Yeah,
think that's important.
But there are
for-
people, I mean, Joe Bruno is a people person. I mean, there's
Yep.
a lot of
You're right, too.
Republicans
Yep.
who are people.
Sure, my
people.
sister.
The sister's a people
Yeah.
person. I
Yep.
mean, I just didn't understand, even when you chose to run, why you chose the D personally. I mean, I was following the race, and I just never understood why. I mean, I'm a blank, and I don't know which I would run for if I had to run for mayor of
Right.
the city of Albany.
Right.
I mean, I would just flip a coin. I mean, I just don't know.
Well,
So maybe
you know, I think-
counsel me and help me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
overall, maybe it doesn't make so much of a difference on the local level, but overall, on a national level, I'd say that I'm more aligned with the Democratic
On the
Party's
national
thinking.
level.
And so, to be consistent, it made sense for me to register as a Democrat.
All right. Are you more of a Bernie or Hillary supporter?
Oh,
that's good.
I think, God,
You
I'm,
said progressive, so I
yeah,
figured-
no, I think they both have a lot to offer, and I'm glad to see that they're burying the hatchet and beginning to work
Well,
together.
of course. But
Yep. Well, it wasn't, of course, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that would happen, so it's
know,
good to see that.
well,
It's good to see that.
You know, Bernie Sanders was on CNN and he kept calling Wolf Blitzer Jake,
Oh, did he?
like
Oh,
Jake
dear.
Tapper.
Yeah,
And Wolf said, no, my name is Wolf. And he goes, okay, Jake. And it was like, so it's an age thing, I think, that's...
Yeah,
I know,
nervousness.
I just was just saying, when I mean you're a people's person, just
Yeah.
something that, you came from the ranks, so to speak.
Mhm.
I mean, I think you can relate to the people, and that's why.
Well, it's true, and I during the campaign, and even since I've been in office, I'm far more comfortable in the neighborhoods than I am at a chamber breakfast
Right.
or speaking at a this or that, or even going to council meetings.
So-
My roots
I
are
just think
in
so
the
there's
it
someone
wasn't-
who's always been a politician from the day one. Like that, you were working with people. That's all I meant. I was just saying,
Sure.
some people are just, they come out of law school, become a politician, and here I am, and they're a little, a few feet off the ground. They're not a people. Here you're working for 30 years,
yeah.
So
with the people of Troy.
what's your degree in?
I have a couple. My first degree is in photographic technology, and then I have one in political science and philosophy and law.
So you got the photo center there.
Yes, right.
My friend.
Right across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who runs that?
Nick.
Argyros.
Yep.
Nick Argyros. He was the way I know him is that he was the first station manager of WSUA when they first signed on for campus radio at University of Albany.
Oh, okay.
And he was the first station
He's
manager.
a nice guy. I love going in his
So-
shop and just looking at all the
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
So I just wanted to
Yeah.
have a shout out to Nick and
Yep.
and you said photographic.
Yep.
So you don't have any like finance background or
Well, not formal training
not
in
formal,
it, but at Trip, I put together deals. That was one of my most favorite parts of the job, was putting together financing for deals for rehabbing buildings. And they were tricky because we only did what nobody else could do. So we'd step in and we'd pursue the grant fundings, we'd pursue the tax credits, we'd pursue the various financing arrangements. I loved doing that.
So who replaced you at Trip?
A woman named Christine Nealon. She had been on the board for a couple of years, and she had worked until she came to Trip, she had worked at Unity House.
So do you have to be careful as to any city funds that might go to Trip, if there, or any, I mean, when you talk about ethics laws and you talk
Sure.
about perception and public perception and the court of public.
Well,
opinion,
it's not as though I own
I
any
know.
stock in
I-
Trip. There's
I
no
understand,
there's
but
no
people-
financial
yeah.
gain to be had. It's, as long as we do everything above board, and we're not doing anything that we hadn't been doing with Trip for the past couple of decades.
Right,
Trip
okay.
has always had a close relationship with the city.
And I just wanted, because in the state legislature, we're always talking about the ethics laws.
Sure, yeah,
And when you
rightly
look
so.
at a smaller municipality like Troy, it's like a fishbowl. So everyone, and you do have a local paper, so like,
Yep.
for whatever it's worth, but you do have a, well, and you do have an issue that they could make mountain out of a molehill.
Mhm.
So I just wanted See,
And just
you're,
talk about
if you're
once-
cognizant of
Once
that.
Mark's talking about money, what is the money? And I always think, I mean, I don't know the figures at all, but just since it's building up, and Seth Rosenblum is supposed to be building a very nice.
I don't know.
Oh, yes, the old record newspaper
Yeah, so
building.
that's
Yep.
why.
Oh, he is,
Yep.
okay. I
Yeah.
thought there was another project that he backed out of.
No, he's, the record,
Was there
I don't know if
something
there was
else?
one that he'd backed out of.
Oh,
it's
okay.
just the record he's doing.
Yeah.
But there was
I'm
another
just-
Jewish developer who came in, had all sorts of legal problems, and he was going to develop that piece of property that was across from the old Monument
Yes.
Square.
Yep,
Forgot
Yep.
his name,
um,
but,
Kirchhoff, Joe
Okay.
Kirchhoff.
and then but I thought Seth Rosenman was supposed to be developing that corner building.
No, Seth
Right.
is developing a building over on Sixth Ave. It's the old newspaper building.
Right, okay.
And that's why I say it's beginning to spread out of the immediate downtown, and that pushes it close to the base of the hill where our PI is.
Right.
So we're beginning, the growth is beginning to,
But you gotta, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, go on.
Yeah, but you have to spruce up Fourth Street. I mean, you just
Right.
can't go from Third to Sixth.
Oh,
and
no,
expect
no,
that
we've
people-
got,
But
so-
you had Cocapelli's and you had
that's
other,
gone.
other jobs,
Mhm.
other bars that were on that block. You had
Right.
problems with Albany had a party on that block.
Yep. So if you go on Fourth Street now, you'll see
See
the
a
old
pizza place.
Trojan hardware store
Right.
is now a Rare Form brewery, and the shop is a restaurant. There's a retail store just south of that, I'm sorry,
Okay.
merchandise company, something, I forgot the name. Coming north, Proctor's is done, the facade is done.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, the
Okay.
chamber has moved in
I was
there.
there when they had the news conference.
Right.
Talking about
And
the
Groff
redeveloping that.
Networks,
Okay.
computer company bought a building across the street. They've rehabbed that. There's some more rehab. CDTA is putting a transit center
Yes.
in on the corner of Fulton and Fourth. And then we have the Innovation Garage,
Oh, yes, I was there.
Taranadachi.
Yeah.
And then north of that is Franklin Plaza, and across the street is the Franklin Inn and Suites, and they're putting another, I think, 25 or 30 rooms onto that. They're breaking ground on that. They may have broke ground today, I'm not sure.
So
So-
Cocapelli's missed the boat by having some trouble in their bar? I mean, otherwise it would have been okay and it would have been successful? I mean, because you had all this
Well,
other stuff
I
going
can't
on.
speak to their business model.
No,
I don't know if it would have
There
succeeded.
wasn't much of one.
But
so-
they were in a neighborhood that was, that is now coming back.
So
Okay.
bottom
So
line,
he-
the budget is doing well, though? I
What's
mean,
your
if there's,
budget? What's
you
your
know,
city budget?
Our city budget, the general fund is about $66 million, and it is not doing well. It's very strained. 10% of it is debt payments from debt that had been run up in the early 90s.
But I mean, with all the new businesses, I'm thinking that's really generating a lot of revenue.
It's helping us, but it's not there yet. We're not going to solve our finance problems in 1 year.
Do you have an institutional debt deficit like the city of Albany does?
I would say yes at this point in
How
time.
much?
Probably about $1 million to $1.5 million.
That's small compared to the city of Albany.
Yes, but it's still a structural deficit. It's an imbalance.
Do you get together with Kathy Sheehan and try to help her with some
Kathy,
suggestions?
Kathy has been great, and Gary McCarthy as well. When I came into office, we've gotten together a few times. They're there for me. I'm certainly not in a position to offer them any advice yet, having been in this only 6 months, but we have a good mutually supportive network. We talk about regionalization of, in terms of marketing the capital region, because that'll help us all. We recognize we're all in the same boat.
Well, Carl Brasil was on the show, and I told him that there needs to be a transportation connection, not just between that trolley or whatever that goes from Rensselaer to the Empire State Plaza, but that they should have, not a trolley, it's a tram that they want to build, but that they should have from Glens Falls to Hudson, Chatham, Catskill, Troy, you know, everything in between. There should be some transportation hub. You hear about all these billions of dollars going down to New York City for LaGuardia Airport and the Penn Station and rebuilding this and rebuilding that. But we don't get any of these transportation money. And if you only had an easy way to get to all of these other cities, you know, it would be a
It's
much
an easy
more
way. I
vital-
don't know if it's an easy money, though.
Yeah.
That's the trouble.
Yeah, you know
and it's a
what?
lot
Well,
of
it's
money.
starting. So I've forgotten what Carm is calling it, but we're running a direct line from Troy to Albany. And there's one now
Bus
from
line,
Albany
you
to
mean.
Schenectady. Yeah, there's a red line and a blue line,
Uh-huh.
and they're the rapid transit lines. And there's no stopping in between. So, my son, for example, worked in Albany for a summer job. I would bring him into my office. He'd get the bus in downtown Troy. The next stop was the Capitol in Albany. It was 20 minutes.
Uh-huh.
It was real easy. And in fact, when I went down to the State of the State address in January, I thought to myself, oh, parking in Albany, how am I going to deal with that? So I went down to the park and ride on Route 4 in North Greenbush. I hopped on a bus, and 11 minutes later, I was getting dropped off at the door of the building I wanted to go into for $1. Didn't have to pay for parking. I got out of there, didn't wait in line. It took me longer to check my coat when I got in there than it did to get there.
Well-
So, I mean, we're beginning to develop that ability. And I think Carmen's done a great job, and I know he's got plans to expand on that. But you're right. Building an ease of transport between these communities helps us all.
Could you just imagine what it would be like, especially for the arts community, when you have Chatham
Sure.
to Glens Falls to Schenectady to
Yeah.
Troy and Albany, and you have putting all that together and having, you can go anywhere and catch a play or catch.
Sure, sports too.
Yeah,
We have
sports
some good
also,
sports
yeah.
teams here. You could get down to
Well, you got
the
the
arena
Valley
in
Cats.
Albany. Yeah, got the Valley
You
Cats.
can't get the Valley Cats.
You know, Mark, we're out of time.
Oh, no.
already?
It's having a
Okay.
good
I'm
time.
just, well.
This
we
is
gotta
actually-
We'll have to ask you back. I mean, he's going to be in the
Anytime.
office for a good few years,
Hopefully.
hopefully a long time.
Say hi to Kathy.
I'll do that.
All
I'll
right.
do that. Thank you very much.
Continue with having good success.
Okay, thank you very
Continued
much.
success.